Hi there. Today's practice is a very simple, energizing morning meditation and gentle flow. So, this is just a really nice way to wake up in the morning, just to pay a little bit of mindful attention to how you're feeling, and also start to just ease through the body a little bit. We're going to do some spinal rolls, some gentle sun salutations, and just gradually find a little bit of ease in our spine and in our posture and in our body at the start of the day. So to start with, just join me in a seated position, whatever feels comfortable for you. So you might want to be cross-legged like I am, maybe up on a pillow or a blanket like I've got here. But you could just as easily do this lying down in bed if you're not feeling great this morning, or even just relaxing back into the couch. Just get into a comfy position, whatever really does feel easy for you. A nice position that you can sort of relax your hips, relax your tummy, let it be really soft. Relax your shoulders back and down. And without trying to take on a kind of meditation pose, even maybe keeping your eyes open for this meditation, just notice what is drawing your attention this morning. In the quiet, what are you noticing? What is it that your mind is paying attention to? And then see if you can start to turn your attention inwards towards your body. Let's keep it at the surface level of the body first of all. What in your body is drawing your attention? And if you can, try and do this with your eyes still open. And just notice if there are parts of the body that are calling for your attention with stiffness, with tightness or gripping. If there's any discomfort that you're feeling. And as you start to notice these sensations and your attention is drawn to them, just explore whether there's any movement that your body is asking you to take. So maybe some shoulder rolls, or a little shimmy in your seat. Perhaps it's actually adjusting your position to find a little bit more ease in your hips. Maybe you actually want to stand up and move around your space for the rest of this meditation. Is there anything that's asking for you to rub it, give it a little bit of gentle attention and love, maybe some gentle squeezes? And when you've made those movements and you come back to stillness, let's check in again. Just at the level, the surface level of the body, what is drawing your attention now? And is anything different? And now let's start to draw our attention a little bit deeper to the level of some of those internal sensations and those energetic systems in the body that tell us about our emotions. What at the level of your emotions is drawing your attention today? Remember, this could be quite subtle. You may be feeling numb, or a bit flat, or like you're not really sure what your emotional state is yet. Or you might feeling something a little bit more strongly and acutely. Maybe there's one or possibly two dominant emotions. Again, just being curious, notice what's calling for your attention, and perhaps ask the question, how do I know this is what I'm feeling this morning? If you say, oh, I'm feeling anxious, well, how do you know you're feeling anxious? Is it a churning in the tummy? Is it a slightly raised heart rate? Is it clammy palms? All of this without judgment. We're just being interested. And having looked at your emotions, let's draw the attention outwards and come to your surroundings and start to turn your head and look around the room and let your gaze travel around the space that you're in. And again, notice what draws your attention. Are you picking up on colors or patterns or textures? Maybe it's the play of light and dark. And try and find one object or one picture that really draws your attention. It's something that you would like to look at a little bit more, and allow your gaze to rest on that object. And just really look at it and become curious about it. Allow your attention to sit on this object for a moment. And if you can, whilst looking at that object, can you also start to draw your attention back to the level of your body? So can you have a dual awareness now of what you're looking at, and also how your body is reacting to the experience of looking at this object? And if you find that tricky, don't worry. Just try and draw the attention between the two. Observe your object and then check in, and then go back and observe the object again. As I'm looking at a plant in the corner of the studio. As I'm doing this, I noticed I just spontaneously sighed. I noticed that my jaw is feeling a little bit less tight. My shoulders are slightly more relaxed. My hips are still very tight. But I feel overall an improved sense of calmness from when I walked into the studio and got set up to film this class. So in the same way, can you just catalogue and be curious about the impact of looking at this object on your body? Let's come back now, once more going inwards and observing at the level of the emotions again. And perhaps you might also want to include your thoughts this time, without judgment, without labeling. Can you simply notice what is calling for your attention? Has there been a shift or a change? And then draw your attention back out again. We're going to start moving now. So whilst we start to move and stretch this morning, see if you can practice being both aware of your body and also keeping that awareness of the surroundings around you. So let's just come to stand. I'm going to pop that blanket out the way. If you have sensitive knees, you might want to keep a blanket on the mat to bring your knees down onto. Oh, that was my hip. I don't know if you heard that clicking. It's morning for me as well. We're just going to stand comfortably at the back of the mat and just start by grounding the feet. You might want to shift your weight forward into the balls of the feet and then over onto the right, back into the heels and over onto the left. And then come back to center and see if you can really ground down through all four corners of your feet. See if you can loosen the knees a little bit, drawing up through the quadriceps. And maybe place a hand on the front and the back of the pelvis. Just try tipping it back and forth a little bit until you can find a position for the pelvis that feels neutral. It doesn't feel like there's an effort to hold it there. And once you've found that position, you can gently draw the spine up from the pelvis, lifting the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Maybe thinking about a thread from the top of the head, slightly drawing you up taller. Thinking about that thread running all the way down through the soft and hard palate where they meet in the mouth to help you align over your spine, shoulders back and down. And you might want to turn your hands, palms facing forward to help your shoulders to gently draw back. And just take a few deep breaths in mountain pose. Notice how it feels to adjust your posture in this way. And then let's start to take some spinal rolls. So we're going to tuck the chin towards the chest, allow the shoulders to round in, and gently start to roll down vertebrae by vertebrae, bending at the knees, thinking of really curving down, letting your arms be heavy and letting their weight gently pull you down just as far as is comfortable for you, dropping the head towards the floor. Take a breath at the bottom and then pressing the feet into the mat. Slowly roll back up again, tucking the pelvis under, gently rolling the spine back, allowing the shoulders to come back. Head is the last thing to come up, and re-find your mountain pose. Tuck the chin to the chest, roll the shoulders in, start to come down, letting the weight carry you down again. Maybe you go a little bit further this time, maybe not. Just go with the limitations of your body, pressing the feet into the mat, start to roll back up again. Really take your time. Feeling into every nook and cranny through the spine. This time let's raise the arms above the head. Palms come to touch, looking up towards the ceiling. Feel like you're being pulled up taller. And as you exhale, bring those arms wide, bend the knees, and start to bend from the hips, coming down into a forward fold with more of a straight spine this time. Fingertips just coming down to wherever is comfortable for you. Take a breath. As you exhale, bring the fingertips to the shins or onto the thighs, making a straight back shape, little L shape. And exhale, drop back down, hands to the mat. Press the feet into the mat and roll back up. And as you stop to straighten your spine, lift the arms up over the head. Palms come to touch and then draw them down at the heart. Recenter yourself in this position. Notice if your pelvis has shifted. Inhale, slight bend to the knees, arms wide, up to the ceiling, palms together. And exhale, start to bend from the hips, diving forward, swan dive into the forward fold. On the inhale, halfway lift, fingertips to shins or to thighs. Exhale, dropping down, hands to the floor. Press your feet down, bend to the knees, slow rise, arms go wide. Lifting up towards the ceiling, palms come to touch. Bring the hands to the heart. Take a breath. Let it go. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice the feeling of the mat beneath your feet. Notice the details in the space that you're in this morning. Slight bend to the knees, arms wide, arms up, palms come to touch. Exhale, swan dive from the hips, forward fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. This time let's walk the hands forward, coming into down facing dog. So feet are about hip width apart, generous bend to the knees for this first downward facing dog. Hands about shoulder width apart, fingers spreading wide, broadening through the shoulder blades. And let's walk out our dog, pressing down one heel, bending the other knee, and then alternating. So like you're doing a little bit of a mountain climber in downward facing dog. Letting the head hang down. Then coming to stillness, still with nice generous bended knees. Let's lift the right leg up towards the ceiling, bend the knee and take some big hip circles. Just loosen through that right hip joint. See if you can keep both arms straight as you do this. And taking the circles in the other direction. Bring that right foot down, little stretch. And go to the other side. Left leg up, bend the knee, big hip circles. Doesn't matter which direction you go in. Notice if one hip feels different from the other. And the other way. Left leg comes down, little stretch. Let's shift the weight forward, knees come down. Release the toes. You might want to shuffle back a bit on your mat. Make sure the hands are hip width apart, shoulder width apart. And I kind of like to change the orientation so the top two fingers are pointing towards the top of the mat. Bring the weight forward over your shoulders so you're in shoulder plank. Draw in the tummy. Big breath in. Exhale, bend the elbows close to the body, come down. Pressing into the hands. Just lift head, chin, shoulder blades off the mat. Tiny little cobra. Exhale, down to the mat. Press the hands back. Let's come back onto the knees. Big toes together, knees wide apart. Walk the hands forward, forehead coming down into child's pose. 3 breaths here. Check in again. How is your body feeling? Notice the surface of the mat beneath your hands and your forehead. Notice the sensation of the floor taking your weight. Big exhale. Let's shift the weight forward, coming up out of child's pose. Knees under hips, hands under shoulders. A few rounds of cat-cow. Dropping the belly, lifting the head, lifting the hips. Exhale, pushing the back up towards the ceiling, pressing the floor away from feet and hands. Just experiment, feeling into the spine. Make this nice and fluid. Maybe you want to go to the side as well, looking back towards the right hip, looking back towards the left hip. And then let's walk the hands forward past the shoulders, shift the weight, tuck the toes back up into down facing dog. One big stretch here. And then slowly walk the feet forward, bringing feet to hands, tiny little steps to come to the top of the mat this time. You're in your forward fold. Bend the knees, slowly rolling up, arms coming wide. Hands above the head, palms come together. Meeting at the chest. Adjust your pelvis, adjust your stance. Pause again, look around your environment. Notice what is drawing your attention. Notice your heart rate and your breathing. Allow them to come back to normal. Okay, hands at the sides. Slight bend to the knees, arms up, palms above the head. Exhale, swan dive forward, forward fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the mat. Step the right leg back. You might want to widen your stance. Make sure that your feet are hip width apart and drop the right knee. For this first slow lunge, let's just keep fingertips on the mat, looking forward. Just feeling a nice stretch through that back leg. Plant the hands. Bring the left knee beside the right one. Shift the weight forward, keep the toes tucked. Bring chin and chest to the mat. Release the feet. Press the hands into the mat, little cobra. Exhale, down and up to down facing dog. 3 breaths here. Lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. Keep it straight and squared. Knee to chest and step it through. Drop the left knee down. Keep the toes tucked. Fingertips down on the mat. Low lunge. Tuck the toes. Plant the hands. Shift the weight onto the front leg. Step up. Forward fold. Bend the knees, arms wide. Coming up, hands above the head, down to the heart. 3 breaths. Notice your surroundings. Little bend to the knees, arms up above the head, palms come to touch, forward fold. Halfway lift. Hands down and let's step back with the left leg this time. Drop the knee and release the toes this time. Let's bring the right hand and then the left hand on top of that front thigh, pressing into the thigh. See if you can relax the left hip a little bit more, pulling the shoulders back, looking forward or even up towards the ceiling. Big breath here. And then hands down to the mat. Bring the right knee back next to the left and tuck the toes. Shift the weight. Come down, chin and chest. Release the toes. Little cobra. Release the cobra, press back, down facing dog. 3 breaths. Lift the left leg up towards the ceiling, straight and square, knee to chest. Walk it through. Drop the right knee, release the toes. Left hand onto the left thigh, right hand on top. Start to lift up. Allow that right hip to relax. Maybe looking up towards the ceiling, so long as there's no pinching in your low back. Big breath here. Hands down to the mat, tuck toes, shift the weight onto the left foot, step up, forward fold, bend the knees, arms wide, coming up, hands come to touch, and meet at the heart. Big breath. Letting it go. Hands at the side, drop the chin to the chest, spinal roll. Notice how this feels compared to the spinal rolls we started with. And this time let's take hold of opposite elbows, ragdoll fold at the top of your mat, bit of a sway, or alternatively,
try a little wiggle. Just kind of shake it out. Hands to the mat, bring down one knee, then the other. Come down and find a seated pose. Let's just take a little twist just to release all that work we've done on the back. Left hand to the right knee, right hand behind. Straighten the spine, looking back over the right shoulder. And come back to center. Just twist to the other side. Left hand to the right knee, left hand behind. Sorry, other way around. And back to center. And just check in. What in your body is calling for your attention? How is this different from when we started the practice? And can you notice any pockets of ease, of release, or even just of more neutral sensation now? You could take your gaze inwards to look at your emotions if that feels safe. What is calling for your attention? And lastly, bringing your attention out back to your space, turning your head to look around the room, to notice details. Coming back to center. And releasing to carry on with your day. I hope that you found this morning practice helpful. Let me know in the comments how you found it, and I look forward to practicing with you again.